welcome to your favorite boomer. I'm Rich, hopefully turning into your favorite boomer. And we left a discussion last time about nursing homes and what it was like inside. And I got a little curious and was kind of peeking under the hood of what nursing homes are like and things. And I came up with some interesting things to share. In addition, I gotta give it to you straight is that nursing homes are essentially places people go to die, and that's a plain fact. It just happens. Statistics that I've been finding is that people tend to live somewhere between 4 and 10 months once they check into that's just the average now. People sometimes will die right away when they're in they're really bad shape, and sometimes they last a little longer, but the average length of stay in a nursing home is somewhere between 4 and 8 months, which is the average. And this is the research that I came in. I was really shocked to see this, is that people could live about that long in a nursing home. They weren't in a nursing home. They'd live 48 months maybe. There's a significant reduction in time, and that sends a stab of guilt right through your heart if nothing else will, and should not feel that way, because it's the best decision that you can make at the time. Mom, Dad, me, is more than you have time to take care of at that time. You don't have the skills. Unfortunately, you go to a nursing home, you got, say, a staff of doctors, maybe 2 or 3, checking in once a day for people being sick, and you've got maybe 4 or 5 nurses, actual nurses, and then you have aides who are there just kind of helping things out. They're not necessarily medically trained, or maybe they're nurses assistants or something like that. They're good enough for passing out medications and changing sheets and making sure people are cleaned and taken care of, feeding, companioning. But that isn't a substitute for home care. But the plain truth is, you can't do that and continue to live at home and continue to keep a roof over your head. In my case, I was already retired. I'd suffered a stroke at work, and so I was home. I wasn't well myself, taking care of Mother. I took care of Dad too during that same time, but my health was kind of drifting south too. But I still was able to take care of them. But Mom had kind of a penchant for drama, let's say. And when she couldn't figure out why she would have fallen against something, had a big bruise, and she would come up with some kind of a story of how it came about. And a couple of times when I've taken her, or Christy has taken her to the doctor or to the hospital or someplace to have these things looked out, they asked her what happened, and she came up with some kind of story. And you know what happened was that the police ended up coming and taking me away. And I spent the night in jail. And was charged with domestic abuse, even though I wasn't even home. But when the police come on a domestic abuse situation or elder abuse situation, and it's for the safety of your mom, your dad, me, uh, somebody's going to jail, whether it's good or bad, that doesn't matter. And as mom got worse, the chances of her falling again and hurting herself, and for my own protection, we first sent her to my brother's place, and he tried to take care of mom, but her tendency to wander and wiping out and the same deal caused. He said that she fell up there and tried to blame me for it, but he was in Chicago. I'm here in the middle central Ohio. So yeah, I made her fall down. Uh, the dementia just was causing all kinds of crazy things to happen, and so don't feel bad about putting your mom and dad into skilled care, what they call skilled care. Um, I'm I still beat myself up with guilt, and reading this uh, uh, studies didn't make it any better for me, and it's been 5 years. I should uh, I still feel guilt, and you can't. That's just something you got to let go of. Let's get to kind of what to expect at the end. You're going to get a call from the nursing home. Probably, uh, well, I don't know. For us, it was right about just after dinner time. But they'll call you and say, "You're it's time," and you go there, and what happens physically to the body is it starts to shut down in stages, and your limbs, arms and legs uh, start to get the circulation is worse, and oxygen going to the brain starts to slow down, and so um, the patient, try to be a little bit clinical here, because if I don't, I'm going to have trouble emotionally. So the patient is often delirious or is sleeping. Um, so the patient starts the pulse slows, um, brain activity is slowing down. Sometimes a patient will earlier in the day be very conscious, and sometimes will have a flash of clarity where, and that's going to last a day or two before um, they pass away. And this happened for a mom. She had a couple of days where she was completely lucid, and I was fortunate enough to, and I called my brothers, and younger brother came down, and we had a chance to talk to mom about just anything, keep her engaged. And then when it wasn't but a couple of days after that she had kind of went to sleep in her bed, or she was in her bed and didn't wake up. She was still alive, she was still breathing, but uh, wasn't taking any nutrition, was dehydrated because she wasn't drinking anything. And as you know, body can only last a couple of few days without water, and we noticed modeling. The skin on her ankles changed color, kind of a purple color, and then it wasn't but maybe a couple hours after that she breathed her last. Uh, and that, uh, excuse me for a minute. Kitty knew that this was difficult, going to be a difficult segment to film. Uh, so she's been here very needy, and but it wasn't too long after the body starts to shut down that, oh, there she is, right in the camera. There you go. She doesn't want me to film this, I don't think. But this is within an hour of when we noticed that the body had cut off the blood for her arms and legs, that my mother passed away. Now, more research just happened to come on it. Behind cancer and terrible accidents, dementia is the number 3 cause of death from elderly, and it's going to do nothing but go up as there's more of us reach the age that my mother was when she passed. Well, she was 87 though when she passed away, so she lasted a pretty good long time, but still, dementia gets us all. And the truth of the matter is, you go into a nursing home, you're giving away close to 3 years of your life once you get in there. But it's 3 years that you can't hold yourself accountable for. In other words, if you put me in the nursing home, it's 3 years you get back that you don't have to be with me 100% of the time. You can start to make preparations for life beyond having me, and you get a little bit of time getting affairs in order. And yeah, I can't really blame you for wanting to get things in ready to go. Things that we boomers have done or can do in preparation for this, and my wife and I have already done it, is we have already made arrangements for something that you're going to have to, and remember this, write this down. When Mom died and Dad died at a respite care, and Mom died in a nursing home, ask for, before they go to the funeral home, before they go in for processing or whatever it is, whatever we're going to call that, make sure that valuables such as wedding bands or anything like that are of intrinsic and of sentimental value, make sure you have those, because very often they go to the funeral home where they disappear. Very often, in the case of Mom and Dad both, they were both cremated. This won't apply to some people, but in cremation, it goes into the fire, and it just ends up a lump of metallic substance, and it ends up in the jar, and then it gets buried. Now, Mom had a prosthetic hip, which ended up being would have been a really good-sized lump of titanium, which gets thrown into a bucket, and then there's a fella comes in and takes the recyclable metals away. But make sure that if you have mom's wedding ring or anything like that, make sure that you get control of that between either before she dies or he dies or I die. Make sure you have that, and don't let it go and get incinerated or end up on somebody else's jewelry box. I hate to be cynical, but that stuff happens. The funeral home then will certify your parents' death, or my death, or anybody. Certify the death. They issue the death certificate, and they'll ask you how many copies that you want, and you're going to need one for the insurance company, and you're going to need one for I know I used at least 2 or 3 of them for official purposes, and they went off, and they have to be original copies. So what the funeral home gives you are original copies, and they're stamped, they're embossed, so I got 5 copies both times. So I have 2 copies of the death certificate still in my safe, should the need arise. Now I can do certified copies of those for most of the things now that it's been long enough, but get plenty of copies of the death certificate, because that's an important document to keep, and keep that with all the other important documents that you're going to want to collect up during the time when you're me or your mom or your dad are in the nursing home. You're going to collect up birth certificates, marriage certificates, any paperwork that seems like it'd be important. DD-214s, Army service records, or Navy, Air Force, Marines, whatever, service records. Because there are benefits that the government has for, and they want to put on, if you want, a funeral service at the graveside when you commit mom or dad or me to the earth. And so get all that paperwork together, because you're going to need it filling out other forms, and you're going to want to have copies of it. Dad's I had to send to St. Louis because of a lot of his. A moment, please. A lot of Dad's service information was scattered around the earth as we moved. He worked for the government after he got out of the Air Force, and we moved all over the place. And over the course of several moves, even though Dad was particularly meticulous with all of his paperwork, some of it might have gotten away. And so there's the main clearinghouse for at least the Army, or the people I was in touch with, got me all of his records, as far as when he enlisted, his DD-214, the times he was separated from service and went back in. He served in World War II, and then was off for a little while, and he went and served in Korea, and was off for a little while, and then he served an auxiliary function during Vietnam. And that's when we lived in Okinawa. So we've moved all over the world. So there's all kinds of opportunities for paperwork to show up missing. And Mom's same way. Her citizenship papers, because she was Japanese, uh, all of that stuff you're going to want to have on hand. Uh, Take care of that. Then, darn, I was trying to come up with something positive to end this video on, but I'm not finding myself in too great a mood to finish it. I hope you understand. This is not an easy topic. So when the time comes, and when the time comes where you know that, excuse me, as I was saying, when the time comes to take me into the nursing home, uh, because you know you've got your life, you have children to deal with, uh, and you've got your job, and you've got responsibilities. Uh, I'm not going to hold you account for uh, not being able to take care of me for an extra 3 years. That's a long time. Uh, think of a picture, and I'll insert a picture here. Uh, that's probably where I'll end it. Just remember me like this, and know that I loved you. Bye bye.